Coming at you with Milwaukee's metric ratcheting combination wrench set. I do have their SAE, which I'm going to use some of these for comparison during the video. And I want to tell you what I love about them and what I wish were slightly improved about these. Okay, they've got this max bite design, which is supposed to cut down on how many fasteners you round out with the normal, I guess, ones that would be like that, have a tendency maybe to round off fasteners, whereas these grooves inside the max bite are supposed to catch the corners of the fastener and not let it slip and round out. They have a 2.5 degree arc swing. What's that mean? That means you really only have to move these 2.5 degrees to catch the tooth. They have 144 ratcheting positions, which means you barely got to move these, all right, and you can kind of get the nut loose with just a tiny amount of space. And they do that because they have a double pawl design, meaning they kind of stack two gears on top of each other. Let's get this thing open. I'm going to show you something else about this. I didn't do that correctly. Well, we'll just probably edit some of this out. One take, one shot, right? Debauchery didn't take too long. Okay, another thing I wanted to point out about these is they have this Ibeam design. Okay, so they are slightly indented on the long part here. And that comes in handy when you're fighting for space. There are times where the thinnest thing you need is what's going to win. And if you got one that bulks out like this, this style bulges out and comes back to a close. This is an I-beam where it's thinner in the middle, so you can actually grip it a little bit better. Your fingers sit in there further. You can clear more obstacles with an I-beam design than you can with a traditional wrench design. And inside the I-beams, what they've done is they've got a raised Milwaukee logo here and a small printed Milwaukee logo there, which is nice because then when you set these in here, it's easy to know which direction they're all facing so that you don't have the one crazy gangly one going the wrong way. So you can see this one's facing the wrong direction. If you're nitpicky about that type of stuff, that's an easy way to identify the direction they're heading. I want to point out there's an advantage to these Milwaukees. They're a bit longer than my gear wrench ratcheting for the same size as 2 5/8 on top of each other. So the bottom one, you can see you're going to get a little bit extra leverage from the Milwaukee being just slightly longer there. And hopefully you can get to that nut or bolt that you're trying to reach a little bit easier. And for another comparison, this is a S&K Made in America wrench that barely gets to the head of this one. I love how bright contrasted the red is, the red ink, on the sizes on the SAE. The trouble is on the metric, they're in black, and what they actually look like is they're just silver. They don't contrast very well. I wish they would have done a different color there, even just red again. Even though it would match the SAE set, I could easily figure out that 22 in red is 22 millimeters and not 22 inches. Another thing I think that could use a little bit of improvement is this tray has some space that is going to waste inside your toolbox. And if you're fighting for space in a toolbox, you know that every little slice matters. It is nice that they are laid down a little bit on an angle so you can quickly identify, like they're kind of laid back slightly. You can quickly identify what sizes you have. If you're with the side view, you can kind of read the top like this, depending on how you've got them set up in your toolbox. And the thing I would improve here is look at all this space. This is, I don't know what for, other than it's blank space that's going to take up extra room in my toolbox. Sure, you could throw wrenches and stuff in there, but that's just they're all gonna get jammed up under there and stuff. So I don't know why that is an added space. If somebody just didn't measure it correctly, or if maybe these puzzle together in a certain way that it makes sense somehow. One other space up here, I guess if you had another wrench, you could put it up there. They left enough space for it. It takes up space, but there's nothing to go there. That would be, I guess, the 7 millimeter or an odd wrench that is small that you have sitting around and you're like, where is it going to fit? I guess it could fit right there. I also did the math on this tray design, and what it is let's call it 15 by 15 at its biggest. And if I measure that against my SAE set, which I have not in its tray, I have the SAE set standing up in Tekton organizers, and they take up like this much space. They don't lean back like that. They go vertical. And I did the math, and this tray actually takes up 40% more space to do the same amount of wrenches and about the same exact size. Actually, this 1 inch is even bigger, and my SAE set takes up 40% less space because it's not in the original tray. It's in a different organizer. And I'll show you those in just a second. So here forward is the SAE set. Same amount of wrenches as the metric set, but as I told you, this one's even longer than the 22 over there. So this one should take up more space, and maybe that's why the tray is bigger, because it's on the metric side. This is a slightly smaller wrench, and on the SAE side, let's find out. Okay, so that makes sense. So if you've got the SAE set in a red tray, it would fill this gap a little bit better. I don't know why the metric one doesn't. They've chosen not to go as long on the metric set. So I would say if you're fighting for space, I'd get an organizer similar to these Tekton organizers. We've got this whole drawer set up with tons of wrenches, long ones too. So back on the workbench, I guess we figured out why the tray is slightly too big for the metric size. It's because the 1 inch SAE does go all the way to the edge. Why does the 22 not get that same treatment? I don't know why they decided to make that one shorter and give you extra space. The one other thing I would say might be a buying decision point is the way you get the 144 positions and the 2.5 inch or 2.5 degree of swing is that double pawl design. And in order to fit the double pawls in there, the teeth on them have to be a lot smaller, meaning a lot less durable or subject to pain and torque. If you're really thinking about getting after it, you probably shouldn't be using a ratcheting wrench anyway. But if you're putting a significant amount of torque on these, the double pawl on any ratcheting wrench is going to have a disadvantage compared to a single pawl that has larger teeth, a bigger swing zone, and less tooth count. The double pawl should be okay for most people in most applications. Like I said, if you're really putting torque on the ratcheting side of these things, and you shouldn't put a whole lot on it, if you're going to put torque on it, there's a chance you're going to break some of those teeth off and ruin the ratcheting end. Believe me, I've done it with other brands before. You learn your lesson. If you're really going after torque, use this end or a non-ratcheting box end. That's the method you want to go with. This is for moving them fast, not for really untorquing a whole lot of heavy applications. I picked up the SAE set at a pawn shop a couple months back and been hunting the metric set down. I was watching some prices on Amazon, and these went on a crazy sale one day. So I jumped on it, and I think that I was one of the last people to get the set from that specific seller for like half price. It is a lifetime guarantee on these. They are rust protected, chrome plated, and you know what? They're made in Taiwan, okay? I honestly love these things. I know I talked a little bit about how maybe I think they could be improved, but that doesn't mean I don't like them. I really do like these wrenches. If you're looking for them, keep an eye out on Amazon. Sometimes they go on crazy sales. Sometimes they're hard to find, especially when you're just going for one set and not the other. But if they do sell these as a combo, you can get the metric and the SAE as one set, and the tray is red for the SAE set. Let me know in the comments what you think about these Milwaukee wrenches, and if you've used them or if you have an alternative. All right, it's been good chatting with you. Don't forget to subscribe. Oh, we'll just probably edit some of this out. One take, one shot, right? I didn't do that correctly.